It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Forum on Eagle Television. Good to have you watching along because we have former State Representative Eber Phelps with us as our program is brought to you by Hayes Med. Eber, good to have you on the program.
Nice to be here. Thanks for the invite.
How does it feel to be not in Topeka this time of year?
Well, I really haven't given it that much thought. I've been kind of busy, taking care of, end of the year, beginning of the year items. Obviously, I've been following a lot of the, statements being made by, the Governor Laura Kelly, and of course, keeping track of Governor Collier on his way out as well. So I guess it hasn't set in yet. The swearing in was on the 12th and so forth, or the 14th. So I guess maybe as we get down the road here again, it'll probably sink in. But I've got plenty of things to keep me busy. I'm not worried about that.
Well, you spent years representing those of us in this district, and those sort of things, the change in the flow and some of the things are coming back again. So when you look ahead, I was looking at the calendar, it looks like education's back there again.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of a leftover from last session. If you recall, at the end of the 2018 session, we did send a funding package over to the Supreme Court, $580 million, I believe it was, somewhere in that neighborhood. One thing that was left out of that, though, was to account for inflation. So there's probably another, I think, $80 million has to be added on to that. So that's going to be the first order of business. But as we know, education funding is a mandate by our Constitution. So it's not an issue that's ever going to go away. You got to keep up with that funding from year to year. And also, I might point out that, in the legislature, we always said nothing ever dies. And of course, bills keep coming back, and issues keep coming back. But education, I think my entire time in the legislature was always something that was kind of at the forefront every session.
And it's such a big dollar amount, too, when you look at all the things you can control. And there's a few you can't, and education, one of the things that's just a lot of dollars.
Well, absolutely. And, years ago, we would have debates on how much money to add to the base state aid per pupil. And, sometimes somebody throw out a figure of $50 per student or $100, whatever. And there were people that were reluctant to vote on that, and their remark would be that, well, that's a lot of money. Well, I would also point out that we have about 485,000 students in our K-12 system. So even if you put $1 on the base, that's nearly $500,000. So when you start getting up there, with $50 and $100 and so forth, you're going to see a pretty good, bill for that.
How much different will it be in Topeka? Because I think you have to go back to 2010. Governor Parkinson was there, and that was a Democratic governor.
Right.
And so it's kind of split. How much difference will it be with Governor Kelly?
Well, you're going to have probably a lot different agenda, than what you've seen in the last, administration. On the other hand, I think she's, demonstrated an ability to, work in a bipartisan fashion. She's well respected in the Senate by both members, both sides of the aisle, I guess you could say. But I think it'll be different, obviously, this session because if you recall the last two sessions, we went in with a deficit, and now the session is going to start with a $900 million, I don't want to call it a surplus, but $900 million ending balance. So you're not going to be looking where you can make more cuts or where you're going to get money and so forth. I think what's going to be happening is you can be very constructive in taking care of some priorities. And a lot of those have been, outlined by the governor. A number of legislators also have pointed out they want to deal with the education issue, get, that inflationary money package over to the Supreme Court. They also want to deal with, things like Medicaid expansion and get our, infrastructure program, our comprehensive highway plan back on track. So there's probably a lot of things that I think everybody's going to be ready to deal with, and then you're going to have probably some other issues come up along the way. How different is it going to be? Obviously, The conservatives are going to have to figure out how to work with a Democrat governor. And I think she's ready to look at, okay, we've got our differences here. Let's look for some common ground. And then she's already expressed that a number of times. And I think leadership, especially in the House, has kind of expressed that as well. It's kind of like, we just had 2 years where I think there was a lot of, positive, accomplishments, getting the state kind of back on a little bit sounder footing financially. And so I think, Speaker Reichman is probably more inclined, at least my first take on it, is that he's more inclined to figure out how can we, work through some of our differences and get onto some common ground.
Now you were one of those that I'll say played both sides of the aisle. You worked back and forth with Republican counterparts really well. There have been a couple of switches, a couple of people that have just switched parties since then and switched to the Democratic side, and it's like, what would cause that to happen?
Well, I think what you've seen over the years, and I can go all the way back to former Representative Dan Johnson, was what I classify as pretty moderate in his approach to the legislature, and he was the chairman of the Agriculture Committee, and then you got a conservative speaker, took him out of that role and kind of put him in the back row, if you will. And so I think a number of these folks that have switched really had a lot to bring to the table. Senator Bollier, retired physician, you want somebody like that on your, in your health committee, and she was taken off that committee, and that's just wrong in so many different ways. And I think she just looked where she could make her voice heard and subsequently switched parties, and now she's on that health committee, and we'll have a lot of input, a lot of positive input. And Representative Clayton from Johnson County, I think, was the same thing. Very talented representative, but kind of relegated to some, a very insignificant role, and I think she just wanted to have her voice heard.
Well, it's an interesting time, not only to Topeka, but it will be also, as we know, on the national level. We're going to take a break. One other question we're going to come back and ask about your political future, where that stands. So okay. You work on your answer for that. We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Hi everyone, this is Gerard Welbrock inviting you to join us for Tiger Talk. We record it over the noon hours, Mondays at Old Chicago, north of the interstate in Hayes, and play back at 6 o'clock Monday nights on Tiger Radio Mix 103. You can also catch it on Eagle TV's channel 14 and 614, Tuesday and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., and always on HaysPost.com. So join us for Tiger Talk over the noon hour Mondays at Old Chicago.
Welcome back to our second half of our Forum program here on Eagle TV. Forum's brought to you by Hayes Med. We're always looking for great guests to have on our program. If you have somebody in mind, let me know. Gary.Shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also find us on Facebook under ECTV Forum. Again, our guest, former State Representative Eber Phelps. And we've been talking about some of the things and maybe some of the changes that have taken place in Topeka, what's going on. One on the national level was our senator. Pat Roberts has kind of put his notice out that he's not going to run again in 2020. Is that an opening you would look at? Because I was going to ask what you were going to do,
that hasn't even entered my mind on that.
I know there's another whole list of people that
Yeah.
are jumping in on that.
Yeah, well, you're going to.
So what about you? What
you're
do you
going to
want
get
to do?
into a very, I think, crowded Republican primary when it comes time, when Senator Roberts steps down. As far as myself, the way I've had a number of people ask me that here as of late. And frankly, up until November 6th, my plan was that I would be in Topeka, this winter, dealing with the issues we just talked about moments ago. So I really didn't, think of what else I would do besides that. So as I mentioned, this time of the year, it's just busy getting, tax work done and so forth. And I had, some other things, business to deal with. So, as far as the next election for either the State House or the State Senate or anything like that, that's 2 years. So I'll be watching the legislature, and I never say no to anything. So I really don't have a plan in place right now. One thing that I have looked at, I did serve on Governor Collier's Governor's Education Council. And when we got to the end and had our final report, it was his hope that this, the next governor would keep that program in place, because I think it's very important that you have this communication between, business and industry, and also our education system, so that, we're educating, and being able to, continue supplying a educated workforce. So it's a very interesting committee. I was on, one that, looked at, our technical education programs and seeing that we're getting people ready, to go out into the workforce, with some, skill sets, beyond just a high school education. And so I may look at seeing if the governor's planning to do that again. Also might look at, what other appointments might be available. Throughout state government, there's like 5,200, various appointments. The barbering board, the cosmetology board, various agriculture, water-related issues, and things like that. So I'm going to take a look and see what, appointments might be coming up in that regard, and see if there's something of interest there. Because anything you can do, serving on a board or a committee, that's affiliated with the state, pretty much keeps you tied to what's going on in Topeka, and keeps you cognizant of what's happening and which direction the legislature is going. So that's kind of something I'll probably look at seriously here in the next, coming days.
Let me wrap up today. You look at the national political environment. It seems pretty rough and tumble and almost ugly at times. Can Kansas be better than that?
Well, I think we proved that the last couple of years. One thing I pointed out the last two sessions was that when the 2017 session started, you could just tell the atmosphere in the State House had changed. There was a real spirit of collaboration, cooperation, communication, whatever you want to add to that. And it was very evident in the committees. There was a lot of open discussion. On the House floor, there was a lot of civil debate. And, even in the non-legislative setting, there was a lot of camaraderie. And I think that's what made the last 2 years very successful. In 2017, when we kind of reversed Governor Brownback's tax plan, which was taking our state down a very dangerous path financially, that was ultimately passed by, I think, 86 legislators, including the Speaker. And for some, that was a very tough vote to take. But I think that you had at least 86 people that said this is something that is necessary to be done, and it will also, put our state back on, better, economic times. And that's proved to be, otherwise we wouldn't have the surplus that we do now. And, we would have probably gone, if we wouldn't have been able to do that in 2017, I can't even imagine what would happen in 2018, trying to, get the school finance issue straightened out. So we had a pretty good run there for, the last 2 years. Now, the incoming people, I'm not sure what that makeup is and what their mindset is, but I do believe that the last 2 years showed that if you are looking for some common ground and you know, people are willing to, you know, abide by the process and have very open discussion on things, you can get a lot done.
Well, appreciate your time. It's not a donation because there is some pay, but basically it's a donation of 3 to 6 months of your time, not counting all the other things. So on behalf of those that are out here doing what we do in business, doing what we do in our communities, doing what we do in our parts of the world, thank you for doing your effort for doing that, and thanks for being here. And as former state representative, obviously some insight as to what's going on, and glad you're continuing to stay involved with that where you can in the state. So,
well, I hope to come back maybe and see if everything I said here, you know, pans out. So, you know, maybe do a refresher or something like that, or something like that. But thanks for the invitation here. Not only today, but you know, in the past, I've really enjoyed being on this program.
our guest has been former Representative Eber Phelps. Thanks for watching the Forum on Eagle Community Television. It's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.